In this challenge video, it's going to be up to you to create a brand new subscription using what you've learned so far. With the comment subscription already in place, you're going to be creating a brand new subscription called Post, allowing the client to subscribe to new posts. So they'll be able to get notified whenever a new post is published. There are a few steps for getting this done, so let's go ahead and work through all 4 of these, then I'll give you some time to actually knock this out. First up, the big picture goal is to create a subscription for the new posts, and there are 4 steps to solving this challenge. Step 1 is to actually define the new post subscription over inside of your type definitions. There are no arguments necessary for this one, and the response should just be a post object, much like the response for the comment subscription is just a comment object. Now, step 2 is where we actually define the resolver, our subscribe method for the new subscription. Since there are no arguments, you can use a generic channel name. Something like post would work just fine. We're not concerned about subscribing to posts from a particular user. We're just concerned about getting all posts, so we're just going to have a single channel name for this subscription. Now, that means that the subscribe method is going to be very, very short, just a single line where you return the async iterator. That brings us to step 3. You're going to modify the mutation where new posts get created, and you're going to publish the new post data, just like we did for creating comments. Now, there's only one catch to this. When a comment is created, it's always public. But when a post is created, it might have its published value set to false, meaning it's a draft post. We only want to call pubsub.publish if the new post was created with a published value set to true. Now, if the published value is set to false, it could always be published later inside of the update post mutation. We're not going to worry about that. For the moment, you only have to modify create post. You do not need to touch update post or delete post. We'll handle that later. So in this case, the subscription is only going to fire if someone creates a new post, and when they create it, the published value is set to true. The last step is to test your work. So you're going to create a subscription to actually listen for the posts. Then you're going to go ahead and define a few new posts that are indeed published when they start getting created, and that should fire off the subscription. So take as much time as you need to actually knock this one out. Feel free to refer to anything we've done so far, pause the video, test your work, and when you're done, click play. How'd that go? Let's go ahead and move through these steps one at a time, starting with step 1. We're going to define our post subscription in schema.graphql. Over here, we're going to call it post. We're not setting up any arguments, just like we didn't set up any arguments for count, and what comes back is indeed going to be a post object. Perfect. So there we go. Step 1, all done. That brings us to step 2, which is to actually define our resolver inside of subscription.js. I'm going to add that just below the comment object. So right here, we need a post object. Then we have to set up the subscribe method for post, naming out all of those arguments. We have parent. We do indeed have args. We also have the context, which I'm just going to destructure to grab pub/sub since I know I'm going to use that. And finally, we have info. Awesome. Down below, what do we need to do? All we have to do is return pub/sub.async_iterator, and we're going to use a generic channel name like post. Perfect. That is it for step 2. That brings us to step 3, which is to modify the mutation where new posts get created. So I'm going to save this file, and we're going to move over to mutation.js. I believe it is above just a little bit, where we have the create post method. Inside of here, we want to actually publish the post if it was indeed created with the published value set to true. We can actually just add an if statement right here to check that. If args.data.published is true, what are we going to do? We are going to call pubsub.publish to actually publish that data. Now, currently, we do not have access to pubsub. Let's destructure that off the context object as well. And now we can provide the 2 things necessary. The first is the channel name. We used post. The second is an object with the post property set equal to the post object. I already have a variable with the name post, so we can use the object shorthand to get that done. And there we go. That is step 3. This brings us to the final step, which is step 4, testing our work. We can go ahead and do that by creating a brand new subscription, one new tab right here. I'm going to use the subscription operation. We are then going to set up a subscription to post. Since there are no arguments necessary, we're not going to provide anything, but we are going to provide our selection set. So when a new post is created, I'm going to ask for the ID. I'm going to ask for the title. I'm going to ask for the body as well. And I'm also going to ask for some info about the author. Let's go ahead and grab the author's ID and name. So right here, author ID and author name. Excellent. If I refresh the application schema, this should turn into a valid subscription operation. And now we can actually go ahead and fire that off. Here it is indeed listening for new posts to be created. So let's go ahead and test things out. I'm going to move over to our Create Post Mutation tab. Now, in this case, we're creating a post, but published is set to false. So if I fire this off, it does indeed create the post, but I should see no change over in my subscription tab since we did not create a post whose published value is true. Let's go ahead and move back to that tab and actually create a new public post. So right here, we have our Create Post Mutation. I'm going to change published to true, and I'll just change the title, a published post. If I go ahead and fire this one off, we can see that the post was indeed created with our title and the correct published value. This time, since the post was created as published, we should see a notification over here. If I click over to the Post Subscription tab, I do indeed have the new post data showing up. I have my ID, the title we picked, the body, and I also have some information about the author who wrote the post. So there we go. That is it for this challenge. We can now go ahead and clean things up just a little bit over inside of our project. I'm going to remove the challenge comments. We can delete all of them. And I'm also going to remove the count subscription. That helped us explore how subscriptions work, but it's not going to make it into the final version of the app. So I'm going to delete it from subscription.js, and I'm also going to remove it from our subscription type definition. Perfect. Now we have two subscriptions in place. We have comment, which allows us to get new comments for a particular post, and we have post, which allows us to get new posts that are published. We're going to continue on with this section, exploring all of the other different operations that we can subscribe to, whether it's something being updated or deleted. I'm excited to continue on with subscriptions, so let's go ahead and jump right in to the very next video.